Welcome in, everybody, to the next chapter in the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series 2025. Here with something new here tonight. We've got the Gen 4 cars. They're not new, but we've got the old version of Daytona for y'all tonight. The 2008 layout of the old surface of Daytona International Speedway. It's sure to be a fun one here tonight. Let's go ahead and go through tonight's starting grid. First up, the fastest car in qualifying, Veleke Ray in that number 48 machine down there, followed by Evan Carlbond, who is outside for the Jack Shack. Great start for him. Dylan Basin in third, Jeff Mert for MBG in fourth. And how about this? Brody Kostecki starting in the fifth position here tonight. An 8-time winner in the V8 Supercars Series over in Australia, and is a NASCAR Cup Series starter. I will say he didn't have too great luck, in the 2023 Brickyard race in the NASCAR Cup Series, but he is a NASCAR driver as well, and well, I'm sure we'll see him again. It seems he likes to race these NASCAR vehicles here over in the States. John Ellis in the number 21, starting his outside in 6th. Michael Guest 7th, Colton Salick 8th, Nathan Harper 9th, and Asher Little rounds out the top 10 starters. Then we got Kenny Reel 11th, Daniel Falkingham 12th, Jared Haynes 13th, Brian Hennings 14th, Hunter Hastings 15th, Tucker McClendon 16th, Trevor Osmanoff for Jack Shack 17th, Freddie Basnez 18th, Logan York for PBG 19th, and Stephen Miles in 20th. Dylan Jones will be starting 21st, D3, Daniel Eberhardt number 90 starting 22nd, Sterling Thess 23rd, Joshua McCullough 24th, 25th will be Christopher McCullough, 26th, Kenny McCullough, all the McCulloughs grouped up together right there, James Wagner starting 27th, and John Ward rounds out tonight's field in the 28th starting position. An extremely light field here tonight for a PGR race. Not sure why that is. Maybe it's because of the combo. I don't know. But that could offer up some opportunities for some guys that maybe we don't normally see at the front of these things to go out there and get themselves a win here tonight. Let's pull up the race info. Gen 4 cars, as we stated, 60 laps, 55% fuel in the tanks, 2 sets of tires, no fast repair fix setups, and as always, 1 attempt at a green-white checkered should we need it. So it's going to be a fun one here tonight. Gen 4 cars at the old, extremely bumpy version of Daytona International Speedway. It's going to be very abrasive for these drivers out here tonight. It's a very, very, very rough track surface in any vehicle, and especially these Gen 4 cars. They're not exactly the most stable as is when it comes to super speedway racing. They're not horrible handling by any means, but when you take them to a place like this, who knows what we're going to see here tonight. But the field's coming out of turn 4 this time for Veleke Ray and Evan Carlbond to lead the field to the green flag for 60 laps of racing in the time machine version of PGR. We're taking it back to 2008 here tonight in a bright sunny day in Daytona Beach, Florida. Veleke Ray, Evan Carlbond, the green flag's in the air, and we're racing here at Daytona. Coming to complete lap number 1, it's a pair of Jimmy Johnson paint schemes. Dylan Basin, Veleke Ray. Basin going to get the edge over Ray to complete lap number 1 and get a lap led. And he's receiving a push from that number 9 car. That is Brody Kostecki, someone we got to keep an eye out for in this race tonight. He's, obviously he's a legend. Actually, hold that thought. Yellow flag is out. As we got a car around, is that Daniel Eberhardt? It is, and Tucker McClendon in the 00. Early yellow flag here tonight. You hate to see that. Only 28 cars in the field, and we made it 1 lap. I guess the second one proved to be a little challenging. Let's go back and take a look at what brought out this yellow flag. As we see D3 in the 90, he's already sideways. Let's take it up top and get a better view. Oh wow, this started well in front of him. Goodness. So that's the 74 of Brian Hennings. That yellow and black, almost Matt Kenseth DeWalt looking paint scheme. Is that the 69? Is that Hunter Hastings? Tries to come up and fill the middle. It might have been a little bit of net code right there. Spinning the 74 of Hennings up into the wall. D3 getting hit by Logan York. Not much York could do in the number 02. And he's going to slap down into that 0 car, 11 car. That's kind of hard to see. I'm wondering if that's Dylan Jones. And then Tucker McClendon, absolutely nowhere to go. Look at Sterling Thess in the 6. I think he's going to get away from this totally clean. So will the 05 of Joshua McCullough and the 30 of James Wagner. See if we could get a better angle of this real quick, because, like I said, this really started with the 74, and I'm thinking that's the 69 car. I would have to take a look. Let me verify that. Yes, it is. That is the 69 of Hunter Hastings. Going to be getting in to the 74 of Brian Hennings. Let's try and switch this over real quick. This might be a good view right here. We'll play it out, and you see a little bit of 3 wide, 29 trying to push up the middle, and Hastings, yeah, that's just net code. That's net code all day. From Hunter Hastings into Brian Hennings. What a tough break. Brian was all by himself out here for Team PGR tonight, and already gets taken out. Here's a look at D3. Let's back this up and see what D3 really saw throughout all this. It was not much he could do. He was trying to check up for the crash, and then Logan York. This is actually Tucker McClendon. Let's switch this. There's Daniel Eberhardt. Oh, yeah. He hit the brakes, Logan York. Logan York's got some quick reflexes. I really don't think Logan could have done anything else right there behind D3. Let's take a look at Logan York's on board real quick. Oh, yeah, I mean, he's bumper to bumper with Daniel Eberhardt. Wreck happens, and bam. Oh, man, Logan York. He got a lot of damage in this crash. Look at the wheel damage for Logan York. That's a contender going to be taken out already, I believe. Maybe not completely taken out, but that's going to hinder his chances for sure. Let's back this up one more time. I want to get a look at Tucker McClendon throughout this crash. Here's Tucker in that Tennessee Vols number 00. Yeah, just D3 falling right into his lap. How about Sterling Thess? Let's go back, actually. I want to go on board with Sterling Thess through this crash. Absolutely great avoidance. I mean, he might have got a little bit of contact here. Wreck starts in front on the brakes. Does a good job missing Tucker, and it Red Sea kind of parts for the 6 of Sterling Thess right there. So that's good. Great news for Sterling. We'll get one more quick angle of this before we take you back live. This might be a good one. Let's try and find, maybe this would be a good one. Here come the leaders, and then the wreck right there as everyone tries to avoid. And the wreck continuing into turn 2. Let's go back live, get an update on some of these drivers. There's Daniel Eberhardt. You see some pretty substantial damage still on the number 90 machine. Logan York, we saw the wheel damage and then obviously the cosmetic damage to Logan York in the 02 as well. Let's see if we can find Tucker McClendon. There he is. Damage doesn't look, well, I say that. That nose is pretty bent up for Tucker. But it's a long race. Now, granted, there's only 27 cars. It appears John Ward did not actually take the green flag here tonight. Only 27 cars in the field for 60 laps. I would imagine this race has a good shot of getting a lot of green flag racing in it. Dylan Bason's in pit road. Not sure why that is. Bason in the 48 machine, and now he decides to leave, losing all the track position that he had gained in that first lap. But back up front is this one to go to the green flag. Malik Ray, Brody Kostecki, Michael Guest, Jeff Merck, Evan Carlbon, the top 5, followed by John Ellis, Nathan Harper, Colton Salick, Kenny Reel, and Daniel Falkingham in the top 10. And I see now that I am joined in the booth by Dawson Wise. So I guess we'll introduce Dawson here into tonight's festivities. Do you have any early thoughts of this race, Dawson?
You know what, Landon? Kind of what I expected, to be fully honest with you. A bit of a new track for these guys. I've run it a lot on the league side. Me and a few others in this field have run it a lot on the league side. But the money side doesn't get this track a lot, doesn't get this car a lot. So Not surprised. Some early jitters maybe from this field. A bit smaller field than we're used to. And either way, just guys trying to feel it out, trying to find a comfort zone. And I expected to have an early incident, but now 5, 10, 15 laps in, these guys are going to get a better handle on the car, on the racetrack, and on how they're going to run this race.
Yeah, 100%. We look forward to watching that unfold as the pace car takes that hard left turn into pit road. Wow, doing a little drift right there into the pits. That was interesting. Early jump for Malik Ray on the bottom side of the racetrack. Green flag back in the air at Daytona. And outside line, Brody Kostecki, he did a good job kind of timing that restart from Malik Ray, but there really wasn't much he could do. Look at the separation throughout the front part of this field as they head into one, Dawson.
Well, yeah, and look, again, I've run this car here, I've run this track a lot, and you're going to see a lot of this tonight. A lot of separation, but also a lot of ability for guys to make moves with 1 or 2 or 3 cars, and that's what makes this track so unique. And it's not like, for example, what we saw last night, and I know what we saw last night.
Oh, crashing!
Out back, I believe it's Nathan Harper in the 4 car, gets around. Is he going to be the only one? Oh, no, there's more piling in out back.
Big crash and just struggling to get a green flag flow to this race already. I mean, we made it past the first lap in the first run, but we couldn't even complete this lap. I'm trying to find Nathan Harper, who got annihilated later on in the crash. At first glance, there is a look at the Dallas Cowboys number 4 of Nathan Harper. And I'm trying to find out who else was in this crash. I really only saw Nathan Harper going around, but it obviously was enough to draw the yellow flag. So let's go back and take a look at the 4 car of Nathan Harper from the top-down view. Oh, my. So the 29, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's Freddie Bazinez in the 29. Gets in the 18, and forgive me, I'm not sure who that 18 machine is. But that's going to... The 18 is going to get spun into the 4 of Nathan Harper. And nothing Nathan could do. I mean, I really don't know how to explain it. Oh, my. Big hit. But they're in that Valvoline car. We'll have to check on who that was in 1 second. Is that Chris McCullough? It is. That's going to be Christopher McCullough in the 04 with a brutal hit to Nathan Harper late in the crash. Let's see if we can find who this was. And Dawson, help me out here. Feel free to jump in. I'm trying to find out who that...
The 18 is Kenny Reel.
Kenny Reel.
He's checking up to get on the brakes for Nathan Harper, who made a move down to the bottom, and Bazinez didn't see it, I don't think. I think he got blocked, got screened, and when that happened, he got in the back. These cars don't stop, and you can kind of lift the guy up in front of you, and it does not contribute well to those chain reaction crashes. I don't think Freddie ever saw this coming.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. You can't really fault Bazinez for what occurred right there, even though it doesn't look good, but at the end of the day, it's just a weird kind of miscommunication on the racetrack. Let's go on board with Freddie Bazinez throughout this crash if we can find him. There we go. This will be Freddie's point of view from all this. There's a stack up and he just kind of drilled Kenny Reel right there down into Nathan Harper. And I mean, the victim in all this is Nathan Harper and Christopher McCullough, which let's go on board with him and what he saw as this crash happened. Chris is just hanging out at the back. Look at Chris back here. He wants no part of anything stupid that would happen at the beginning of this race. And he sees, oh, he got hit. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I thought at first he was just trying to go to the high side and avoid the incident, but he's actually going to get hit. We'll look at it from this view, and oh no, it's from Kenny. Kenny McCullough getting into Chris McCullough. Potentially ending the night of Chris right there. You hate to see that, but again, I mean, Dawson, we're really struggling to get a flow early.
Yeah, and again, I talked about it when I got in here right before we went back green, and again, it's a new track. This place is tough to handle the first time you've done it, especially in a car that already doesn't drive well. This thing is not easy to drive, and you may be saying, well, these are the best of the best, right? Well, yeah, it's still not easy to drive, even, for those of us that have run it a lot, for those of us that run this track a lot, it never really gets easier. It's still the same conditions, and looking for the track temp as well. I'm sure that plays a part in it also. 131 degrees, yeah, that'll do it. Rough track, bumps, and it's hot. So a car that already doesn't like to stick to the racetrack is even more slick than usual. I mean, you just combine a bunch of factors. The fact we don't run it all the time. This was going to happen. Again, still a long way to go for these guys to figure it out. They still are the best of the best. They're going to get a handle of it. But I think it's just unfamiliar territory. And right there even, it's just one of those deals. That can happen in any car at any track. You get screened. You can't really see the guy in front of you. You can't see past his windshield. You have no idea that a car is slowing up in that bottom lane if you're Freddie Bazinet there. It's just one of those deals. The last wreck, one of those deals. Hopefully these guys have now gotten a handle on it. I said 15 laps is how long it's going to take. Maybe it'll take 20. And then I think these guys will settle in and find a rhythm and start to log some laps at the very least. But new track, not a familiar car. I think the last time we ran this car was, 4 or 5 months ago, I think, at this point. And so you combine those two things together, obviously going to be some hiccups here early in the race.
Yeah, I completely agree. I am still expecting us to... Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if we end up getting a completely green race. Maybe we might get one more caution early, but if we get a green flag race, that wouldn't shock me in the slightest. Especially if we get to some green flag pit stops. And speaking of pitting, Trevor Osmernoth is in a very familiar spot right here at the front of the field, doing what he normally does when early cautions happen. He decides every time when that happens that he's not going to pit with everybody else. Everyone else wants to come in and top off their fuel. He's going to say, no, I'm going to take the track position. And 99% of the time, Trev makes it work. So we'll keep an eye on the 89 of Trevor Osmernoth driving for the Jack Shack here tonight as the pace car is going to make that hard left turn once again. For this time, Trevor Osmernoth and Malik Ray. Early jump for Osmernoth, perfectly timed by Malik Ray on the top.
Yeah, it's about as good as you can do it. But again, Malik Ray, he's been around a long time. He's done a lot of racing. He has mastered the art of timing up a restart. And actually, I think the better thing here for Malik Ray is the fact that Jeff Merck got just as good a start up on that outside lane. Malik can time it all he wants to, but if that bottom lane behind the leader goes and your partner doesn't up top, especially here, you're not going to have a ton of success. Now, Malik in a much more favorable position in the middle, a lot more comfortable. Those bumps aren't as bad in the middle of the corner, and on exit, it's magnified how much speed you get going down the back straightaway. And right here, Malik Ray clear to lead. He's going to drop on the bumper of Osmernoth here in 3 and 4.
And that leaves Jeff Merck going to be leading that middle lane with a push from Colton Salick in the number 99. Haven't seen him in a PGR race in a long time, but now Malik Ray's deciding he's going to try and control these lanes. He's going to pick up that middle lane once more with a push from Jeff Merck, and that bottom lane is not looking too hot at the moment. Evan Carlbon, he doesn't have any help third in line back there. Check that. Brody Kostecki's thinking about it. He is going to hop down there behind Evan Carlbon and maybe give a little bit more life down to the bottom.
Yeah, a little bit shocked at what Malik Ray did right there. In this car and on this track, you don't often see lane changing like we're used to in most other car track combos on Thursday nights where you want to control temps and control lanes. There's really not a lot of that in this race car. You want to stay in front of the lane that's faster, and you're going to stay forward. You see right there, when Ray got to the top, Trevor Osmernoth got a nice push from out back from Michael Guest, and he was able to pull that line forward, and Malik Ray lost track position. Again, it's a lot harder in this car and at this track to control that track position from up front. Oh boy, Jeff Merck, don't get tunnel vision. Coming down a little bit on Osmernoth. Everybody's no harm, no foul. That's the other thing about this car. It's a bit of a tank. Not a ton of damage done and not a ton of movement when you hit somebody like that. This thing just kind of bounces off the other car and keeps on going. But again, look at this. Malik Ray went to the top. Here comes the bottom. It's just not as controlled as it usually is in other kinds of cars. Man, Brody Kostecki had a big moment right there. 4 cars back on the bottom.
Yeah, lots of jostling right there in the middle of the backstretch, but we're watching Malik Ray control these lanes, and as Dawson alluded to, we saw him lose the track position as he tried to control the last time, but then he gained it right back. The total momentum from that middle lane just sent him back into the lead, and then we saw him go back down, and I was half expecting him to just stay down. Well, no, he went right back up, and we still see him with the edge over Osmernoth into 1.
Yeah, but again, it's not as solid as it would be in another car, say the truck or the Xfinity car like we saw last night in Roughneck Racing. It's not as severe in terms of what you can do to control the lanes, and we're seeing it right now actively from Malik Ray. And that, yeah, you can go to the top and you can keep that guy on the bottom cool, which he's doing for Trevor Osmernoth right now, but number one, that bottom's going to come back a lot quicker. That lane is not going to be as controlled as it is in other cars. But number two, these cars don't cool as fast as the other race cars do. So Trevor is staying cool a little, but only to a certain degree. These cars heat up, they heat up fast, and they stay hot. It's very hard to cool them down, and now, again, this is kind of what I expected as the run went on. Trevor Osmond must be a little bit hot. Here comes Jeff Merck to the lead, Colton Salick, John Ellis in a third lane, starting out back, Freddie Bassinez, Daniel Falkenham, the first to drift up to the high rent district against the safer barrier.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. The 29, Bassinez, no surprise there. A very aggressive driver, Trevor Osmond. Wow, what a big moment for Trevor Osmond out of turn number 2. Not sure what caused that. Maybe a bad bump from behind, but look at the third lane. It's absolutely ripping up there with only 2 cars in Bassinez and Falkingham. Colton Salick, can't tell if he's trying to go up to that third lane or is just kind of moving the car along the bumps right there, but right now, we got 3 wide racing with actually a few guys now deciding they want to bail out. Dylan Basin, Hunter Hastings going back down to the middle lane of the racetrack, leaving Bassinez and Falkingham with no help.
Well, the third lane is fast, but you run the risk of somebody missing their entry point or missing their exit point and getting into the outside wall and taking you with them. Freddie Bassinez, Daniel Falkingham, though, enough trust in these guys up front on a new track to say, look, we're going to go duke it out with them, and we're going to try to get all the way to the lead. On the bottom, though, Michael Guest, slow car on the bottom. Oh, we might wreck the leaders right here. Oh, my goodness, I have no idea how we got away with that. 3 wide is fine. 4 wide at Old Daytona, not often advisable. And, boy, the big winner out of that, Michael Guest on the bottom of the 25. The C's part for that white and red Chevrolet, and he goes all the way.
Oh, he's around.
They're going to crash.
Evan Carlbon, it looked like got hit from behind. Trying to find Evan. Here he is. Just going to be a measly slide. No caution.
Malik Ray to the outside while the race leader, and the big one is struck on the front stretch.
A lot going on. Oswernoth, Wagner, a few others. Who else we got in this? Kostecki with a piece. Malik Ray was mentioned. Yes. Wow, what a turn of events. I thought we finally had our green flag, little good flow going, and oh, that's going to spell the end of the night for a few of these drivers. Let's find Malik Ray. Look at the damage on the 48 of Malik Ray. And Brody Kostecki as well. Evan Carlbon, a blessing in disguise, is going to get spun without a caution, and then they immediately crash. What a great turn of events for Evan Carlbon, but a bad turn of events for everybody else. Let's go back and take a look at this original incident involving Carlbon and Michael Guest. We're going to back this up. You see, I'm wondering if this was caused by Guest coming back up the racetrack. Just at first glance, I'm not trying to speculate on that, but that's just what I would imagine based off what I am seeing right now.
Oh.
So, Carlbon's going to get a little bit of a push from the 9 of Brody Kostecki. It's going to get him sideways. It's going to push Guest up and cause just an offset push between the 78 and the 25 cars. Now we're looking up top. Evan's spinning down there. He's just going to spin no damage. Oh, it's Oswernoth. That's what causes this. The 89 of Oswernoth is trying to save it because he gets hit into, and look at it. Look at this. Bassinez, Ray, the 14 car, Hunter Hastings, Brody Kostecki, Daniel Falkingham getting a piece of this. This was huge for a bunch of our threats in this race here tonight, Dawson.
Yeah, I think a few guys are going to get away a little bit better off. Bassinez, I thought, was one of them. Not a ton of damage. Falkingham's going to be okay, I think, as well. Maybe the 14 of Little also going to be pretty lucky. But Kostecki, Oswernoth, Ray, that's big damage on those cars. John Ellis, Colton Salick, a couple other cars. James Wagner comes into this late. I mean, a couple of big-time hitters at the front that I expected to kind of control the race. I mean, Malik Ray last night was very excited about the prospect of this racetrack, and that car is junked. I mean, that's about as destroyed as you can make a Gen 4 race car, and that is a tough break for a guy who just led the majority of this first 15 laps. For Kostecki, a good run going. That's how quick it can end. I mean, a lot of big hitters, but a lot of guys lucky as well, from what I'm noticing. I have no earthly idea how Dylan Basin got through this, right behind where the wreck starts, and somehow picks his way through it. But a couple other guys lucky as well. I mentioned Bassinez and Falkingham. There's a couple of others out towards the back end of this lead pack that are going to end up pretty lucky. Salick, Reel, and a couple of others who just kind of got lucky where they picked to go in this.
Yeah, we're going on board with Dylan Basin now, taking a look, and it's just stack up after stack up after stack up. And, he follows Kostecki back up the track, and, excellent job by the 48 of Dylan Basin to avoid this incident right here. Let's go on board with Malik Ray and see what he saw throughout this. Because, I mean, I'm assuming he thought everything was fine. You're going to see that happen on the bottom, and then Trev's trying to save it, tail whipping, and then he's hitting the brakes and just getting run into from behind, and then route. Brody Kostecki right into the face of Malik Ray. I think Malik Ray's night is over. I want to say a little bit of wheel damage. Maybe not. Maybe it's just cosmetic, but that's some heavy cosmetic damage. Unfortunately, the night of Brody Kostecki, you can see the amount of damage on his race car. Look at that left front wheel completely pointing in the wrong direction. What a tough break that is for a lot of these big guys in the field here tonight. And again, I mean, I can't emphasize this enough. Michael Guest and Evan Carlbaum, what a break for those two guys, because they were about to be out of the pack. Their night was basically over without another caution flag, but they get a miracle out of turn 4 and into the trioval right here. Here's a look at the starter cam. The Barney cam is what we see, what the flagman sees throughout this crash. Big accident. Officially the big one early on here at Daytona.
On a seismic shift to the guys now up front. Again, we called out the guys that had led a bunch of laps and now are in a really tough position. Now Malik Ray is going to labor on. A couple of other guys, Bassinez, Harper was involved in an earlier caution. They are still laboring on. There are several still either on pit road making pit stops or otherwise getting service or got service that time by, but all seem to have continued. The only car out as of right now seems to be Chris McCullough. Everybody else is going to at least attempt to continue to race in this one, but there are multiple cars on pit road. Evan Carlbaum, Brody Kostecki were just on pit road, and then Bassinez, York, Ray, Ellis, Osborne, Dylan Jones, Harper, Hastings. I mean, that's almost half the field already that's got damage. And now a seismic shift. Jeff Merck, I mean, that's exactly what the doctor ordered. He inherits the lead. Jared Haynes is up to second all of a sudden as he picked his way through that incident. Salick, Basin, Kenny McCullough, Michael Guest. I mean, these guys got really lucky with where they were running. D3 as well. They just got lucky. They were either behind it or, in the case of Michael Guest, boy, he got lucky to spin through the grass right when that started. And now they get a bit of a second life in this race.
Yeah, and I think for Guest, I think he gets away completely clean from the incident involving him and Carlbaum. Not the same could be said for Evan Carlbaum. He's in the was in pit road trying to repair. Trying to take a look at a few other guys. It looks like Brody Kostecki now out of tonight's race. That is tough for him. I'm trying to see who else. Is that Tucker McClendon? Okay, no, they're still in the race. So I think the only guy officially taken out of tonight's race from that incident we just had is Brody Kostecki. But look at what we have. I mean, this is going to be a race, I guess, of attrition at this point, Dawson, or unless we just keep wrecking them up where it would be almost impossible to have a crash. But the green flag's back in the air for Jeff Merck and Jared Haynes, and I'm expecting probably the winner of this race might end up looking like Eric Jones did in the Busch Clash back in 2020, just a completely destroyed race car, might take the win here tonight.
Yeah, that's how this race is going so far, at least from what it seems. If you're 15th on back, you're in a pretty good spot to be able to win. I'm looking at guys like Stephen Miles or Asher Little or somebody like that that's kind of just stayed out of trouble. Daniel Everhart's another one, but now you kind of get thrown in the eye of the storm. So I'm looking at guys like that to get a win. Maybe a first-time winner that doesn't really run up front. Maybe that's going to be the key. Goes against all of our knowledge, at least of how these races go. But, hey, new car track combos will do that. Into turn number 3, and you notice this front pack. I mean, it is very thin now. A lot of guys damaged. A lot of guys also, and I don't blame them, don't want to be up in this mess because we've seen a couple wrecks inside the top 10 already. Merck, Haynes, side by side. Give that lap to Jared Haynes by a nose. As Dylan Basin, Colton Salick up here as well. We talked about D3 and Michael Guest. How about James Wagner as well, making his way to the top 8 for the first time tonight. That pink, green, and black number 30 machine. He drops to the bottom in behind D3, and he's P7 now as the field works off turn number 2.
Yeah, James Wagner involved in the last crash that we just had. Very minimal damage. That's kind of surprising. He's got a little bit of left door damage, I believe, when we were going through a little bit of through the field before we took the green flag once more. But, hey, he's hanging up here. Good run for him. Jeff Merck goes to the top side, trying to do what Malik Ray was doing, maybe learning those lessons from what Malik Ray was doing, and it's stacking up that outside lane. But they're going to get away from it okay, and Colton Salick going to be the big winner out of that, going to lead this lap.
Salick drifted up in turns 3 and 4. He lost the handle of the race car right across those huge bumps. And I can tell you from experience, those bumps on the inside of 3 and 4 are massive. If you're on that bottom lane, if you're getting side drafted, it is not a fun experience, especially in this race car. So for Salick right there, a big moment, but everybody keeps it together. Michael Guest, Daniel Falkingham to the outside, up against that outside wall, trying to get to the outside of Merck and Basin, and now it's 2 rows 3 wide. Make it 2 rows 3 wide for the race lead. Michael Guest on the outside, Merck in the middle. Salick missed it again, but this time Merck able to keep it further down and kind of knock Salick back down towards that yellow line. Colton Salick is struggling mightily with those bumps on the exit of turns 3 and 4.
Well, and then again, he's on the bottom of the racetrack, which is the bumpiest, most difficult part to try and hold that car down there, so you can't really blame him for that. But it's still, at some point, this could cause an issue as we're 2 rows deep of 3 wide, except now Falkingham bails on Michael Guest. Just not enough momentum up there on the third lane as Falkingham and his damaged number 39 Sharpie machine tries to continue on in the middle lane. Is that Kenny Reel back there in number 18 trying to make a move back there around James Wagner? He does it successfully. Jeff Merck back down to the bottom, leaving Dylan Basin the leader of the middle line as Guest files in behind Falkingham.
Yeah, 15 cars in the lead pack right now, or in the lead draft, I guess you could say. Back to 15th place, Stephen Miles is the last car in line at all black Chevrolet on the inside. Again, about 9 rows deep on the bottom, 10 rows deep on the bottom, 15th on the racetrack. And the last time a PGR race had this few cars at the front, number 1, it's been a while, and number 2, it doesn't happen very often. But tonight, again, the attrition, the smaller field, combined with the early incidents and the uncommon track that we're using tonight, it kind of contributes to it. But, I mean, some of these players now coming up here, Dylan Jones, James Wagner, Kenny Reel, Kenny McCullough, starting to make their way to the front, guys that haven't been up here before. We talked about Sterling Thess. How about Josh McCullough silently back in 13th, just hanging around, waiting for an opportunity, and here's an opportunity. D3 is going to try the outside of Michael Guest. Without much help, you can kind of make it work, but you need at least one more car. D3 fades back in line. New leader at the line, Dylan Basin in the 48, as 25 are on the board, almost halfway in PGR Thursday night racing.
Now, dare I say, I'm expecting our green flag run to begin now, maybe not. Jeff Merck kind of washing up into Daniel Falkingham. That would have been an all-time announcer's jinx for me, but luckily we avoid that from happening. But there's only 15 cars in this lead pack, and we're only, 9 or 10 of them are actually side-by-side. So we should, in theory, have a chance of getting a look at a green flag pit stop here tonight, and that could prove to be interesting. It's a very hot track here tonight. We mentioned that earlier. 132 degrees track temp now. The track is heating up at this rate, and if these guys start getting into the green flag run, getting into that rhythm, the tires are going to be a little more worn out. We could catch some people off guard trying to enter pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is a car that does not enjoy stopping either. And it's, the Xfinity cars yesterday night were bad. Well, this one's even worse, trying to stop. And so looking forward to that. And also the track is bumpy. The pit road is weird. You kind of have to squeeze inside of a cone on the inside. That's not normal for Daytona. Usually that cone is by the wall. At this version of this racetrack, it's actually about a lane off the wall, and you have to squeeze inside it. So a lot of factors going into green flag pit stops. It'll be really interesting to keep an eye on. Man, Colton Salick again missed that entry of turn 3 on the bumps, and he still continues to ride the bottom. He's had a couple big moments, and Merck has one right there on the exit of turn number 4. It's 5 rows of 2 wide and 5 smarter cars, if you will, running single file out back of this lead group. I don't know when the pit stop will be. I imagine for the next 10, 12, 14 laps, knowing the fuel load that's in these race cars tonight. And for the most part, this is about as calm as it's been so far tonight. Not a lot of big moves, not a lot of trouble for guys on the bumps. I think maybe these guys are starting to figure it out.
Well, a good time for them to. It only took, I guess, half the field being eliminated. Forgive me for saying that, but it's what better time than now for all the guys that have survived all the early carnage of the first half of this race to go out there. But hey, Daniel Eberhardt up there, D3 and number 90, he wants to try and make something happen. He keeps trying to do it. It just doesn't pan out for him once again. James Wagner that time decided he wanted to give it a try. But now D3, okay, that was interesting. I'm not sure why he tried to make that move behind the lap cars of John Ellis and Tucker McClendon, I believe that was. But right now, I mean, if we look at this, let's actually take a look. As we say, 15th place is the last car in this lead pack. That is Stephen Miles. Then it is a 19-second gap back to this group. of all these damaged race cars, Harper, Baznez, Hastings, York, Osranath, and then I think Malik Ray's even further back from that, sure enough, with Evan Carlbon, who has a ton of damage. Where did all that damage come from for the 78 of Carlbon? All he did was get spun down the apron. I noticed he was the first car lap down, but goodness gracious, what happened to the 78 car? I don't know. We'll have to go back and maybe grab an interview if we do have another caution with the driver of the 78 of Evan Carlbon. But back up front, Dylan Basin, Daniel Falkingham, Jeff Mert, just kind of in a rhythm up here. Basin trying to control these lanes, with Falkingham actually falling back a ton, and Jeff Mert's going to make the move to the outside line to try and void the 48 of Dylan Basin.
Yeah, interesting moves up front here as guys start to get a little bit more rowdy, but not as much, certainly, as we had earlier with the bigger pack. And kind of something I've started to look for in this front pack as we get into a race of attrition is how many guys up here have never won on a Thursday night before, and there's several. Dylan Basin, the furthest most forward of them. Colton Salick has also yet to win on a Thursday night. Jared Haynes, James Wagner, Sterling Thess, Asher Little, I believe also Josh McCullough are all drivers that have not won. And I believe also Stephen Miles that's in this lead pack are drivers that have yet to win on a Thursday night that are all inside the top 15 with a chance to win. That's what happens when attrition takes over one of these races. Tonight could be a monumental night for someone in this field to get a win that would potentially be their first on a Thursday night field. Working about a lap car of Malik Ray. He's extremely slow on the inside. Boy, that 48 led a ton of laps, and that is the worst feeling as a driver. It feels like a gut punch to be going that slow. The leaders blow by you, and you just think what could have been. You feel like tonight could have been a huge night for Malik Ray to get win number 7 of his PGR career and tie him for 3rd all-time. Not to be tonight, unfortunately, for the 48.
I think, honestly, looking at what we have at the front of the field right now, the highest position that would be the greatest threat to me is Daniel Falkingham. And I know that's pretty obvious to say that, but that's a guy that has won in PGR with damaged race cars before. He won the PGR 500 with a caved-in nose. And right now he's got some damage on that left side, and he's trying to control these lanes with Jeff Merck and Dylan Basin. But again, I mean, honestly, at this point, Dawson, we're kind of just waiting for this pit stop. It's very just cyclical up here right now. Everyone's just kind of staying in their line, except for Daniel Eberhardt in the back. Speaking of Daniel, oh, never mind. A little bit of contact between Dylan Basin and Jeff Merck. That's going to shuffle the 60 car of Jeff Merck out to the 3rd lane right there and leave the leader of the middle lane to be Daniel Falkingham and Michael Guest once again. We almost had another big crash right there, right at the front of this lead pack. But Merck's going to get cycled back all the way to about the 10th position, it looks like, and will most likely try and fall in line right here to prepare for this pit stop.
Yeah, it certainly seems like guys are starting to get there. You see Falkingham, we just talked about him. It would be his 4th PGR win if he's able to get it. It would break a tie at right about 8th all-time with John Ellis, John Mullahan, Trevor Osranath, and a few others that all have 3 wins currently, but it would continue certainly probably the most dominant year in PGR as he won the Fall Brawl last year. He was the PGR champion of 2024 and then capped it off by winning PGR's biggest race at Daytona in February. And could, kind of etch another one of those, okay, hey, I won the first of this, I won the first of this, I won the first race at Old Daytona. You could add that to his record as well. It'd be win number 4. Basin, though, I put Basin up there with him as well. The most successful non-winning PGR driver up here at the front. 5 podiums in his PGR career. He has never gone to victory lane. Tonight could be number 1. We wait that pit stop. You see guys starting to migrate to the bottom. I think it's going to be only a matter of time, but as I say that, Falkingham hops back out. He wants to lead, and he'll get it here at the line. 34 laps on the board, 27 to go.
Yeah, I really am curious when we're going to start seeing this happen in terms of the green flag pit stop, because this is about 15 laps since we were last under caution. There's only 55% laps in the tank, and off the top of my head, I haven't raced this car enough to know exactly what the full capacity is in the fuel tank of the Gen 4 car. But, I mean, I say that now, we're seeing some guys, except for Daniel Eberhardt, surprise, surprise, wants to go back to that top lane and try and make something happen. I was about to say, we're somewhat single-filing out. And, oh, Merck again, Haynes getting together with him. And they were able to avoid calamity again. Jeff Merck, he's had a lot of chaos in and around him so far tonight, but so far so good for the driver of a 60.
Yeah, an interesting trend I'm starting to notice here at the front of the field is 26 to go now, and Colton Salick tries for the lead. An interesting trend I'm starting to notice is especially over in turns 3 and 4. The top lane has started to allow that bottom lane of race cars to run about a half lane to over here in 3 and 4, about a full lane off the yellow line, and that makes the bumps just a little more tolerable for these race cars. Watch them right here go into turn 3, and let's see if it happens again. That top lane is giving a little bit more grace on the bumps. Let's see if they do it again. Well, they do. Look at the bottom lane. They're about a lane now off that bottom yellow line, and that's allowing them to avoid some of those massive bumps on the exit of 4 that have caused incidents tonight. So some understanding, some feeling out done by the drivers, and good job by all here to make room enough that we're not causing wrecks at the front of the field. I thought it was going to calm down. Every time it does, somebody jumps out of line and ratchets up the pressure again. This time, 48 of Dylan Basin. Third, make it fourth on the outside, D3. A bit indecisive on where he wants to go off to.
A tremendous run so far for the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt. He was trying to make that third lane work for the longest amount of time, and now he finally is able to get a little bit of clean air on the nose of the number 90 machine. Leader of the middle lane with a push from Jeff Merck, who said, you know what, I don't want to sit back there anymore. I'm going to try and go back up to the lead, says Merck, as Carlbahn is riding the wall up there as a lap car, the extremely damaged car of Evan Carlbahn. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and apologize. We had the same issue the other night in the PGR Light Series broadcast. For some reason, the leaderboard just expands itself for no reason. So I will plan to, as long as we don't get a caution or anything crazy happens, we will go to a commercial break soon after this approaching green flag pit stop and try and correct some of these graphics issues up there on the leaderboard. So we apologize for that. And I'm, again, not sure what that cause is, but we'll try and get that sorted out under commercial break. Daniel Eberhardt, leader into turn number 3. Colton Salick down on the bottom side of the racetrack, getting a nose ahead, but Eberhardt with a tremendous side draft applied to the number 99 car. And look at that bottom lane. As Dawson was saying, they're really starting to ride high up there in the middle of 3 and 4.
Yeah, but the top lane's being very understanding with it and allowing them to do so. And that's the reason we're not seeing any more incidents of guys missing their entry point or guys missing exit on the exit of 4, is because they're allowing that bottom lane to kind of have a little bit wider line through these corners. Right here, even now, they're up about a lane off the bottom in turn 1 as well. And it just allows them a little bit more grip, a little bit more flexibility. They're going to work by a couple lap cars again. This is Bassinez and Ray. Certainly not the night either of them wanted after they both led laps earlier. They're going to go a second lap down. That's the first lap for Bassinez. Next on tap for the leaders is the group of Harper, Hastings, York, and Osbornoth. I would say about 10 seconds up in front of the leaders right now, making 5 seconds in front of the leaders. We'll see if they get to them by the time those green flag stops happen. Salick and Eberhardt, I mean, they're loving what they're seeing right now. They've been top and bottom of this line for about the last 4 laps now, and not a ton of change has happened. That's because the help has left the top. Only 4 cars up there. Eberhardt holding strong. How long can you do that, though, with a pit stop certainly looming now? It's got to be coming here in the next 5 or so laps at most, I would say.
That's what you would imagine would end up happening, but we're still looking at this racing at the front. There's the same group of guys, Eberhardt, Merck, and James Wagner, have decided they didn't want to be at the bottom at any point in this run. They've been riding that middle lane, trying to make something happen up there, as now Daniel Eberhardt finally clears down for the lead in front of Colton Salick, leaving only 3 guys, including one of them, Eberhardt's teammate Dylan Jones in the number 3 car. Kind of strange to see Dylan in the 3 instead of the 11. Don't see that happen too often. But again, where was Dylan, you know? Doing what he normally does. Very quiet. He's riding around in the back with a clean race car. But now, as pit stops are approaching, he's trying to gain some of that track position.
Well, and he's always done that. It's been consistent, consistent strategy. Doesn't matter the car. It doesn't matter the track. For the most part, it seems like he likes to come from out back. He likes to just relax, especially on these newer races, shall we say, where guys have to feel it out. That's exactly what he's doing. He's sitting back. He's watching. He's figuring out what guys are doing. He's figuring out what he can make work when the time comes for him to go, and it works for him. He's got 2 wins in his career, 11 podiums, pit stops here, out back. Basin, Haynes, Little, and Kenny Reel. The first to come down is Kenny Reel. Has to dive out of the way of Jared Haynes, getting on pit road. Pit stops underway, 20 to go.
Yeah, it looked like Asher Little. I'm wondering if him and Kenny Reel, if they made the pit road speed limit before they came in. They both came in a little bit hot right there. We'll find out soon. Only 4 cars decide to peel off with 20 laps to go. So we'll take a look at, there is the 48 of Basin. We'll go back up to these leaders, Salick, Eberhardt, Merck, Wagner, Guest, Falkingham, Jones. And then a little bit of a gap back to Kenneth McCullough in 8th, Sterling Thess, Stephen Miles, Josh McCullough, the remaining cars on the racetrack. We'll see this time by if these guys try to come in. I don't know if they can. Oh, look at all these lap cars, and Merck's around.
Trouble.
Jeff Merck's gonna save it. Tremendous save.
And he's going to get on pit road and have some friends come down with him.
How about that? Jeff Merck, a great save and able to come in and pit with Kenny and Joshua McCullough. Great job by Jeff Merck. But I'm wondering if that's going to kind of screw up the strategy for all the rest of these leaders up here, Dawson. Look at this brigade of lap cars hogging the bottom side of the racetrack right now for these leaders.
Dylan Jones is caught on the bottom, whether by choice or not. I'm not exactly sure, but he decides to push Hunter Hastings out back about 7th in line. Oh, man, James Wagner, that was a big moment for him. He's still having a big moment.
Is he out of fuel?
I think he is. He's going to come to pit road anyway, but almost a disaster there for Wagner. He's going to have to coast it all the way to his pit box.
Yeah, and that's not going to be good. Look at Daniel
Eberhard. He missed the commitment cone.
Did James Wagner miss the commitment cone?
Wagner missed that cone.
Wow.
That's what I was talking about, Landon. It's a lane off the bottom. That's usually a penalty. We'll have to wait and see on the 30. But from my experience, if you go to the left of that inside cone, it's a pit road penalty.
Well, we look at this group that came in and pit this time. Salick, Guest, Falkingham, Thess, Miles still decide to stay out on the racetrack, along with, is that Jared Haynes, who's actually going to be a lapped car. We saw him. He was one of the first guys to come in and pit. There's Dylan Basin also. And, well, what are we going to do here? Sure enough, here comes everybody else. Salick, Guest, Falkingham, Thess, and Miles come in to pit this time. Salick completely misses pit road.
Bombed it.
Oh, he spins it. Salick noses it into the inside pit wall. Stephen Miles, it looked like, also missed it, but he got away a lot better than Colton Salick does in the number 99.
That's a tough break for Salick. Again, a guy looking for his first career PGR win tonight. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the way to do it. That's going to be a penalty. I think the reason we got everybody together is because of how long it takes to get off pit road. It's very sketchy. There's a bump right on the exit. And, boy, Stephen Miles got away without a penalty. I have no idea how. But watch, there's a big, like a hop right there off pit road. And then the apron is about as sketchy as it gets. So I think that's why you saw guys kind of blend together. It wasn't really pit road errors. It was more the exit of pit road is very, very, very sketchy here at the old version of Daytona.
And Daniel Eberhard is going to get away, I would assume, with the race lead. It's going to be very close between Miles, Falkingham, and Guest as they get organized. And actually, it's not even going to be close at all. They are absolutely gone from everybody else. Eberhard's closing, but he's 3 seconds back, make it 2.5 seconds. He's going to need some help from some guys back here, but he really doesn't have any clean cars that could help him. Maybe Kenny Reel is, yes, sure enough, he's going to push Kenny Reel. And there comes Kenny McCullough, Josh McCullough, and Jeff Merck in the number 60. But these guys need to get single file. They do not need to be racing each other right now. And look at this. It looks like they're all three going to clear. Probably is going to end up being the best case scenario for these guys in the back as they're closing in within a second. I think everyone's going to be able to group back up here.
Oh, yeah, they're absolutely going to get there. And I'll tell you what, I think Dylan Jones, Dylan Basin, and Jared Haynes are going to catch on the back of Daniel Eberhard and company because they're within draft range back there. And now the front guys start to race. And this is not what Stephen Miles, Daniel Falkenham, or Michael Guest wanted to do. They're inviting their competition back into this party. By the end of this, I think it's going to be 10 cars. That Dylan Jones group is going to latch on to the tail end of this pack, I would think, with the way they're going to start racing up front.
Well, Guest takes over the race lead with a push from Daniel Falkingham, leaving Stephen Miles, the number 1, completely out to dry. But he's going to get picked up by Kenny and Joshua McCullough. Jeff Merck, once again, how about Jeff Merck tonight? This man just basically spun. Well, who was it, Dawson? Was it Bobby Labonte in the 71 car back when the old version of Daytona happened in a dual race or something like that, where a very similar looking spin is what he had back in 2010. And now we got Jeff Merck doing something similar, but Jeff Merck not only gets away clean, not only pulls off a perfect pit stop, is now up here back in the top 5 of this race. Shout out to the driver, the number 60, Jeff Merck.
That group is coming, Landon. Dylan Jones, Dylan Basin, and Jared Haynes, and they've gotten a helper in Hunter Hastings, who's off the lead lap. It's going to bring them back into this race. There's going to be a total of 10 lead lap cars that can fight for this, and a couple lappers as well. Kenny Reel, Hunter Hastings, couple cars off the lead lap. It'll be a total of 10 with 14 to go, barring a caution that will fight for the win here at Legacy Daytona. Michael Guest leads, but he's about to have a lot more company in this lead draft.
Yeah, sure enough. I thought they were out. I genuinely believe they were completely out. That is the group of Basin, Jones, and Haynes. But maybe the help they received from the lap machine, the number 69 of Hunter Hastings, maybe that just helped him out. Look at Basin. Takes it all the way topside up to the wall, and Dylan Jones is going to go with him. Look at that run. They're going to make it all the way maybe up to Jeff Merck. I think they will, as a matter of fact. Just a matter of time of Dylan Jones trying to get to the back bumper. Dylan Basin, and someone's in the wall back there. I think it was Jared Haynes. They're going to get away from it okay, but Jones bails on Dylan Basin and instead wants to ride behind his teammate, Daniel Eberhardt.
Yeah, Basin, that's a tough break for the 48 right there. Had a monster run and then just got no help. Dylan Jones is going to benefit from it, though, and be fourth on that outside lane. Michael Guest starts the blocking party with 13 to go. He blocks Merck in the middle. Will Merck turn down the hill? Yes, he will. The bumper of Daniel Falkingham. Michael Guest going to stay up here. I thought he had time to make that second block. Apparently, he did not agree and decides not to block Jeff Merck. Now it's the 60 to lead. Falkingham on the push. In the middle, it's Guest with Eberhardt. Jones and Miles following both lines, and Basin continues to hack away at that outside line, but with no help, he's going to have to drift back into the middle and wait for someone else to go with him. Jared Haynes showed a little bit of want to go up there. Dylan Jones did as well, but obviously both thought better of it. 12 to go, still two wide other than Basin, and I mean, again, he needs 1 to 2 more cars. I wonder if Kenny Reel goes up there with not much to lose. For now, staying on the bottom. I wonder if Jared Haynes goes up there, a guy looking for his first win. Right now, both suffice to run.
Oh, Merck's around again. Oh. Jeff Merck gets spun out of the lead. That's what a shame. We need to just stop talking about people, Dawson. I mean, that's heart-wrenching for the 60 of Jeff Merck. Caution flag does not fly as he gets hooked. Coming out of turn number 2 with 12 laps to go, that's awful. And I'm looking at the chat right now. Everyone was telling us to shut up about talking about Jeff Merck. And, yeah, that's on us right there, Dawson. Apologies for that, but we'll take it back up front. Michael Guest still leading this race with Daniel Eberhardt and Dylan Jones behind him. But I was going to mention before that just happened, you mentioned Michael Guest not making that block down on the number 60 of Jeff Merck. What it appeared to be a couple laps ago in turns 1 and 2, nobody really wanted to go to the bottom. They all wanted to try and ride in the middle. That's why I think it was such a late move by Jeff Merck to go down, because everyone was just riding. Look how high everyone's riding now. They've completely gone, ditched the bottom lane. It's like we're single file train racing here at Daytona, which is what we used to see in the old package with the 2019-2021 Cup car package, and sometimes still see it in the next gens, I guess, to an extent. But now Dylan Basin says, I don't want to do that anymore. He's going to pop out of line, and so will Steven Miles, but Miles didn't really have much of a choice. He decided to stay down there out of force because he didn't have an option to go up top side. But Michael Guest, Eberhardt, Jones, all content to just ride up there, right up next to the wall with 10 to go.
Not really surprised. The veteran guys up front, guys that have all won in this series before, I'm not really surprised they're willing to just log laps and wait for an opportunity to go for it. But Basin says, I've never won before. So does Steven Miles. A couple guys that have never been to PGR victory lane says, I'm gonna go for it here with 9 laps to go at the line. What do I have to lose? Got to either try to get to victory lane or just ride and fit 6th and 7th and not go anywhere. Guest throws the block low, not enough time to get back up on the bumper of Eberhardt. Now it'll be D3 that goes to the lead, and he's got a very friendly face behind him here. Eberhardt and Jones, the dynamic duo, leads the outside. The wild cards here, Basin, Miles, and Jared Haynes, all 3 with no wins in the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series, and all 3 are in this lead draft. In fact, all 3 inside the top 7 on the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Jared Haynes up there third on the top side. At what point would he decide, you know what, I'm going to try that third lane, but can he trust Daniel Falkingham to go with him? I guess we'd find out if Jared decides he wants to do that or just wants to sit in line right here and try and hope for the best between the 4 guys in front of him. Guest, Eberhardt, Basin, Jones currently controlling the race. Michael Guest still on the bottom, may have an opportunity to clear Eberhardt right here if he wants to go back up to the middle. He will. Right up in front of Daniel Eberhardt. Eberhardt decides not to push him right there over that bump. Probably a wise choice by the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt. didn't want to spin out the 25 Michael Guest. Look what's going on in the back. Is that Kenny Reel and Josh McCullough? I don't know what that's about. Kenny Reel's a lap machine back there, but a little bit of Dyson back there on the back straightaway in the back of this pack.
I'm a little surprised they haven't had a couple more takers on the bottom with 8 laps to go. Falkingham, I thought was going to go down there, didn't. Kenny McCullough, I thought was going to go down there, didn't. There's been a couple guys I just was convinced that they were going to drop down with Basin and Miles, and they have just been by themselves. Now, they have been holding strong, at least as strong as they can, on that bottom lane with only 2 cars. But, I mean, eventually you'd think somebody else is going to jump down there. Maybe a Jared Haynes, maybe a Dylan Jones, maybe a Daniel Eberhardt. I mean, you got to think somebody in the next 6 laps before we get to the white flag is going to go down. Here they go, Falking into the bottom. And is that a repaired lap car? Malik Ray, I believe it might be, helping out a friend in Stephen Miles.
Yeah, as we see, Malik Ray is now 7 laps down. Obviously decided to come in and repair all his damage so he could help his teammates, Steve Miles and Michael Guest, back there in the other 48 car. Very similar look to Dylan Basin, but the other 48 in Basin is leading that bottom line right now, trying to get pushed from Daniel Falkingham, but it's just not really working out at the moment. At least enough for Basin to try and go up and block the middle lane of Michael Guest. That hasn't materialized just yet. But you never say never with 6 laps to go. We'll see what happens. And I'm still waiting for a third lane to develop. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't yet, albeit I don't know how successful it would be. But more and more guys see Josh McCullough ditching that bottom lane to go up to the middle, but Michael Guest goes and fills that gap, at least numbers-wise, for the bottom, and is going to be the leader in front of Dylan Basin out of 4.
At the line, 5 laps to go. You're going to get the signal here from Barney the Flagman. You get a 5 out of the flag stand. Trouble around goes D3. Dylan Jones, Jared Haynes. Caution flag is out. We're almost wrecking again here in 1. And it's the teammates, Eberhardt and Dylan Jones, involved with 5 laps to go.
Eberhardt tows his car away. Must be a night over for Daniel Eberhardt, and that's a shame. The pair of teammates just completely taken out right here. Let's go back and take a look at what just occurred. Eberhardt coming down to try and side draft, it looks like, on the 48 of Dylan Basin. He's going to receive a push, maybe. Oh, Falkingham kind of comes up the racetrack a little bit into Daniel Eberhardt. And Dylan Jones, obviously nothing he could do right there. He's just going to spin his teammate up the track and then obscene netcode down into Dylan Jones off of Daniel Eberhardt's bumper as he was spinning like a top on the outside wall of the racetrack in the tri-oval. Now, I need to see if that was a little bit of netcode. I hate to use that word so much, but you kind of got to ask yourself that question. I wonder if we could try and maybe get a better view of this. I'm trying to see. Falkingham does come up the racetrack here in that white number 39 Sharpie car. Maybe a tad right there. It's kind of difficult to say. But Daniel Eberhardt is one of the drivers that's had such a great run in a lot of these races, but it just seems like something always ends up taking him out. And unfortunately, Dylan Jones, a quiet night, getting real loud real quick and not in the good way. And that's going to take out that pair of drivers. I believe that was all that was involved in this crash. Yeah, sure enough, it was. Just those 2 drivers involved in that crash. Let's get a couple onboard looks real quick. Let's go first from Daniel Eberhardt. Spinning like a top across the line. Yeah, it will be the end of the night for Daniel Eberhardt. Let's back it up one more time and take a look at Dylan Jones. See what he saw throughout this crash, if we can. Absolutely nothing Dylan can do when you have that amount of netcode off of Daniel Eberhardt's car coming down to the right side door. Nothing anyone could do in that situation. Is Dylan out as well? I wonder if he is. Or if he's... No. He still has an engine under him, it looks like, but could be the end of the night for Dylan Jones. Let's take a look at his damage. Yeah, it's not looking too pretty for Dylan Jones, but then again, it doesn't look awful. So, maybe the race isn't over for him if there's some crazy chaos here on the last lap, Dawson.
Yeah, a tough break for Eberhardt and Jones. It does look like there is some net code there between the 39 and the 90 before the contact. I mean, it's not much, but it's enough to kind of kick Daniel Eberhardt's car to the left. You see he's coming down to side draft, and it's on from there. Fortunately for the rest of the pack, only 2 cars involved, but a tough break for guys that put themselves in position to win. Eberhardt led a lot of laps in the final half of this race. Unfortunately, it's going to come away without a win for him, but it's second life for several cars here. Asher Little had lost the draft. He gets a second life in this. So does Jeff Merck after the spin on the backstretch. Stays on the lead lap. He's got a second life. So does Jared Haynes, who was up there. Sterling Thess was off the draft. Kenny Reel was a lap down. Those are all cars that now have an opportunity to get back in this thing and win, and are displayed on the lead lap with just a couple laps to go. And I believe, if I've understood the rule change correctly, that this will be our only attempt at a restart. Who knows? If we get to the white flag, I have no idea what to expect, even if we don't get there, because it'll get raced out, assuming it's not up here at the front. I have no idea what's going to happen on this restart. It's been chaotic before, and at this racetrack, I mean, tonight, we've had every single thing you can imagine happen towards the front of the field.
Yeah, we have, but I want to make mention of something really quickly. Jeff Merck. We saw him. I know I'm mentioning him, and I really hope I'm not jinxing him again, but he was just about to go 1 lap down before that happened. Right on the verge of it, probably out of turn 2, it was going to happen to him. He's back up here, and he's going to be restarting 8th. In the line that he wants to be in, and has shown that he's been successful at being in that middle lane throughout this entire race. Very aggressive Jeff Merck tonight with what appears to be a completely clean race car. So, what is this driver of the 60 going to do here? That's really who I'm looking at here, Dawson. I mean, obviously, we got Dylan Basin up here, Michael Guest, Falkingham, Miles, but Kenny McCullough. Where did Kenny McCullough come from? Where did Josh come from? Rounding out that third row. But then you have Asher Little and Jeff Merck. Sterling Thess, as you mentioned, had lost the draft. Jared Haynes back up in this. And Kenny Reel after getting his lap back. Now, Kenny's going to have a little bit of work to do because he's going to have some lap machines in front of him. But outside of that, I think Dylan Jones... There's a look at Dylan, who is still on the racetrack with not a exactly clean car, but one that, by some miracle, could get through and at least cash or maybe even get a win here tonight. We're going to find out. The pace car is going to roll in this time by for our only attempt at overtime in this race for Michael Guest and Dylan Basin with pushes from Falkingham and Miles. Here we go. Early jump from Michael Guest on the bottom. Basin down to side draft immediately if he can. Guest is going to maybe be clear, maybe not. Depends if Stephen Miles gets to the back bumper of Dylan Basin into 1.
Kenny McCullough was able to get up right in front of Josh on the outside lane. Let's see where the 0-3 goes. Right back to the bottom goes the 0-3 of Kenny McCullough. My guys, I'm looking at the guys that have not won. Basin, Miles, Asher Little now in the 14. Gets a bit of a run here off turn 2. Does he get a look at this perhaps? No. Going to get cut off by Kenny McCullough. Josh McCullough, another guy that hasn't won. Same with Sterling Thess. All guys that have never been to PGR victory lane. And as they work into turn number 3, it's Basin trying for win number 1. It's Guest trying for win number 2.
Tight quarters into turn number 3. Look at the side drafts being applied over these bumps. That's a recipe for disaster, but so far so good for everybody. Now Michael Guest able to clear in front of Dylan Basin. Basin is kind of going to be hung out to dry here as we take the white flag. It's a pair of teammates in Guest and Miles. Basin tries to make a move. He's going to be hung out to dry. We'll see what he decides to do here as Falkingham leads on the bottom. Never mind. Guest back down to block Falkingham into 1.
I'm looking out back still. Basin, Miles. Kenny McCullough, trouble. Stephen Miles going to get turned. They're going to crash behind the leaders. Sterling Thess going to have a window up into the outside lane. So is Asher Little. Falkingham goes for it. Blocked by Michael Guest. Halfway down the back straightaway. Asher Little to the inside. He's got a window. And he's got a push from Merck. Blocked by Guest, but where does Little go? Looking for win number 1 off turn number 4.
I'm wondering what Asher Little's going to do. He's probably going to try and make a hole if he can try and find one. Just not materializing yet. Maybe it is. Look, he's getting split. Asher Little hooked, and around they go, and everybody goes. I think the winner of the race, Dylan Basin, at the line. First time win in PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series for Dylan Basin, who once again avoids absolute chaos on the front straightaway to bring it home for his first career win. Congrats to the driver of the 48 car, Dylan Basin, here at Daytona.
And it's back-to-back nights at Tri-Oval. Chaos leads to a winner that was not the leader when the field came off turn number 4. A huge win for Dylan Basin. a guy that had podiumed the most of any non-winner in PGR history. He had 5 top 3 finishes and had never found victory lane in his about 2 years of experience here in PGR. And now the winless streak is over. He's on the board. He can call himself a PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series winner. A big win for him. Almost a continuing of the record-breaking year for Daniel Falkingham. How about the McCulloughs getting through that? And chaos on the last lap for a moment. For a split second, I thought Asher Little might have made himself a hole to get his first career win. Not to be. Dylan Basin burning it down in the grass.
As we take a look at Dylan celebrating very quickly, we're going to hold it on him for a second. Then I want to go back and take a look at what just occurred out of turn 4, because it was absolute chaos as Dylan continues to burn it down. Let's go ahead and back it up and see if we can. See, this can be it right here, potentially. Yeah, it will be. We'll just have to back it up a little bit. Let's go all the way back. That's Falkingham. Oh, this is actually under the yellow flag. This isn't even close. For some reason, our data is not trying to cooperate with us once again. So we'll just have to do this the manual way. Forgive us for 1 second. I want to actually see if we can focus it on Asher Little to begin with. There we go. So this is out of turn number 4. Guest goes up to try and block Falkingham, and you know what? I thought that was going to be Asher Little's race to win right here, but it's a little bit of a push. Oh, Jeff Merck going to get into Asher Little. Offset push is going to spin Asher up into Michael Guest, and then Merck continuing to drive through it. Obviously, you're not going to lift on the last lap, and then the wreck's just going to continue as Thess gets into Merck. It's going to spin him right back up into the heart of the field in front of James Wagner. Josh McCullough's going to get hooked. Colton Salek going through, but he was a lap machine right there. And then Basin at the line right there, passing Daniel Falkingham for the win, his first career win here tonight for Dylan Basin. Let's go back live and take a look at Dylan if we can. We'll just have to do it this way. All right, not sure why all these issues are starting to occur for us tonight, and we do apologize for that. Well, we'll go ahead and pull up the final results of tonight's race. Dylan Basin, the winner over Daniel Falkingham. Kenny McCullough with a podium here tonight. Great run for Kenny. Josh McCullough in 4th. Jared Haynes 5th. Kenny Reel 6th. Jeff Merck 7th. Sterling Thess in 8th. Asher Little 9th. And Michael Guest rounds out the top 10.
Dylan Jones 11th tonight. Good run for him. Just not in the way he wanted to. Same for Stephen Miles in 12th. Colton Salek led laps tonight. He finishes 13th. James Wagner in 14th. Hunter Hastings back in 15th. Nathan Harper goes 16th tonight with Logan York in 17th. D3, Daniel Eberhardt comes home 18th after leading a bunch of laps. Evan Carlbon ran well early, got involved in an incident. He'll finish 19th. And Freddie Bassinet rounds out the top 20.
Malik Ray, 7 laps down in 21st position here tonight. John Ellis, 22nd. Tucker McClendon, 23rd. Trevor Osbornaugh, 24th. Brian Hennings, 25th. Brody Kostecki, 26th. And Christopher McCullough rounds out tonight's field in 27th position. John Ward did not start tonight's race. So we're going to go ahead and give a break here. I'm wondering, Dawson, just out of complete curiosity, Kenny McCullough got into Stephen Miles on the final lap of the race in turn 1, and it took Stephen Miles out of the money. He's credited with a 3rd place position, but what is race control saying about this right now? That's what I'm wondering. I only say that because down in our interview waiting room down there, we have Daniel Falkingham, we have Dylan Basin, but we do not yet have Kenny McCullough. So I'm wondering if we should pull Michael Triscaro up here as tonight's race control and see what he has to say about it. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Michael Triscaro is the boys in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Hold on. Hold on, guys. And the booth's trying to interview me right here, so stand by here in the session. Yeah, guys, what's going on?
Well, we were wondering if there's any sort of post-race penalties here, mainly around Kenny McCullough, as if I remember correctly, he was the one that got into Stephen Miles in turn 1.
Yeah, we are discussing that right now in the session. I know Baker kind of put some new rules in place here in the last couple weeks, and I haven't really been doing any RC for this reason. I've been doing broadcast. So I'm going to actually probably have to allow Baker and the competition committee to kind of review this, just because I am not well versed on those specific rules. In my opinion, I saw Stephen Miles coming up the racetrack, and I mean, it's the last lap here at Daytona. I don't know what Kenny McCullough is supposed to do. In my opinion, he lifted already to try to let him back in, but Miles was drifting up the track even more. So if Kenny keeps lifting, eventually the 05 and the 89 behind him are going to jack him up. So in my opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of the rule. I think this is the problem with that rule, because if you are responsible for the car in front of you, but that car drifts way up the racetrack and you have that spot to take over, but then it's your fault if that guy comes back down. So I think we just got to bring it to Baker and the committee here before I make some of these race results official. He does set the rules. The rules are in writing, so we have to go by the rules, and I'm not prepared here to make that call.
So, just for clarification's sake, as of now, Kenny McCullough is being credited with third place, correct?
Yes, unofficially, okay. Yes.
Unofficially, that is the word from Race Control. Michael Triscaro here tonight. We appreciate you talking to us. We'll put you back down there. So while they continue to discuss that, we're going to take a short break here at PGR, and we will return, at least get some interviews with our first and second place finishers here tonight, Dylan Basin and Daniel Falkingham. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where we are about to pull in our winner, our first-time winner here at PGR eSports, Dylan Basin. It's the boys in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
First career win here at PGR and here at the old version of Daytona. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, honestly, felt pretty good there. The tires were wearing out and stuff, and I kind of figured out how to pinch the bottom line or how to pinch the top line when running the bottom, and I was doing pretty good when leading the pack, but at certain points, they were all training the high side. I didn't have a pusher or anything, and even the last lap coming out of 2, my pusher got wrecked. It was just me and Falkingham down to 3, and I was like, well, I guess at this point it's just kind of damage control, try to send it into the corner, push them as hard as I can. So both of us get the momentum, and then the seas parted. I mean, I had to hook the gnarliest right turn of the last second for the 55th time this race, and yeah, just had the momentum still. I never lifted through that wreck. Was able to pass it or Falkingham before the line.
Well, yeah, it was a tremendous run for you here in tonight's race, and just overall kind of, I don't want to say domination, because I don't know if you led the most laps here tonight, but it's kind of a combo with you, Jeff Mert, Falkingham, Guest, throughout the majority of this race, especially in that green flag run. And you mentioned that tire wear. What was that like here tonight?
Yeah, the car got pretty tight. The right front does wear out a lot, with this older surface and the speeds we're carrying. I mean, we're doing 204 into the corners. It's just, there's so much load in the right front tire with this old version of Daytona and the bumps. The car actually gets really upset. So, the top line was kind of the place to be if you had the momentum. Even when I was 3 top by myself, there was not many bumps up there. So yeah, I can kind of keep it up there next to them for a while. But honestly, I feel like my rear tires got helped a little bit, made the car a little bit looser when then wrecked with Eberhardt. I didn't really seem to notice it too much, but I got rear hooked by him and had to drift it down the whole front stretch just to keep it out of the wall and manage to save it.
Yeah, well, there we go. That is the word from tonight's winner, Dylan Basin. Congrats to him, of course. Go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout-outs.
Well, first of all, thanks to Mike for putting up these races, and you guys for doing the broadcast. Thank the Jack Shack guys for working with me and stuff, and thanks to my family for watching these races. It's pretty nice to see them in the chat.
There we go. That is tonight's winner, Dylan Basin. Congrats again. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you.
And next up, we will have our second place finisher, Daniel Falkingham, and Dawson Wise stands by with him.
Hey, Dan, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, fellas, how we doing?
Well, not too bad. And look, a second place finish for you. Obviously, you want to get the win. It's been a heck of a last 12 months for you in terms of PGR success. Looking to tick off another win at a new track. I'll get to that in a minute. But second, last lap wreck doesn't quite go your way. Thought for a second you were going to drag race. You come up on the wrong end of it. Second place for you. Is that still a satisfying result? Kind of take me through your night and take me through your thoughts on a second place finish.
Yeah, it was a good night. We kept ourselves in the game pretty much the whole night. We got into a few scuffles, but we were there when it counted. We got into a few fender benders, got into a few wrecks, which killed the aero of my car. I don't know if it killed it fully, but I feel like it made me slow me down a little bit. But other than that, we were in the fight right till the very end. But I thought we had that thing won when they were all wrecking, but friggin' Basin, if Basin got checked up just a little bit more, missing that wreck, we had that one. So, no, we'll take P2. Wish we could have won because I haven't won like a regular PGR race. I keep winning all like the big races. I've yet to win like just a regular one. So, but no, we'll keep digging. We'll keep trying. But yeah, it was a good night. Definitely different. Handling came into play for sure, which I was getting really tight running on the bottom lane for a lot of those laps too. So, yeah, it was interesting. But no, it definitely made for an interesting race. But still a good time. Even we got into a lot of fender benders.
Well, certainly a fun one to watch. And I was kind of, you kind of touched on it a little bit, winning the big races. And I was going to say, like, you kind of have a knack for winning or at least being in the position when we have a new car combo or a new format or, for example, PGR Championship, a new thing, you win it. PGR 500, a new thing, new format, you win it. New car track combos, you're up front, you're in the mix. You're kind of like the Joey Logano of PGR. It always feels like the first time we go to a track, Joey Logano's up front, feels like it's the same for you. What goes into that? Is it practice? Is it your experience? What kind of goes into that success? Kind of what extra work do you put in? Is there any that goes into your success when we have these new in quotes moments here in PGR?
I would say it's just I really just know what I'm doing on the super speedways, and I feel like I put myself in the right positions. I'm always really good at executing at the end of these races. Like when it comes to like pit road, when we have green flag stops, I feel like that's really like my strong suit is having like good green flag stops to set myself up. Like you said, like myself, Guest, Miles, we all came in ahead of the pack that pitted before us, and we were able to kind of control the race from there. And then we got into a fender bender there. I keep saying that, but that was what it was the whole night. But we got into it with Merc there. I finally got to look see what happened because he was saying Guest turned him, but it was more me drifting up into him just because like it is so freaking tight on the bottom. So I do apologize to him for that. But just definitely. At the end of the day, even when I got shuffled back right there, I got myself in a race-winning spot with all the calamity that was going on. It's just all about surviving and executing, which I feel like I'm pretty good at doing most of the time. So, and that's just capitalizing at the end, which we try to do right there. But Basin just got me right there. So, no, I feel like it's just any other race. It's the same for me. You just gotta come out, survive, and execute, no matter what the track and car combo is.
Well, you do so tonight. Second place, just short of another PGR win for you, but still, you cash out, you go home with some winnings. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, appreciate. I got to shout out Mike for putting this stuff on. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. I got to shout out Baker as well for all he does the series as well. I got to shout out NBG, Merch, Nathan, and also working with John Ellis and Colton Salick as well. So, I apologize to Merc right there because I didn't realize like what happened there, but I guess I got up into him, just drifted up off the bottom and got into him. So I do apologize to him for that, which kind of screwed his race, but he was right back up there at the end, but still hampered his race. So apologize to him for that. Thanks to everyone who comes out and watches each and every week. Shout out to everyone who comes out and races to put on a good show for you guys. And that's about it.
Well, thanks for talking to us for a second. Dan, congrats on the second place finish. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dawson. Y'all have a good one.
Well, there we go. That is the word from our second place finisher, Daniel Falkingham, here tonight. It does not appear that we will be able to get a word with Kenny McCullough, our third place finisher here tonight, as that position is still being reviewed by Race Control at the moment. So we're going to round it off with just those two interviews tonight, Dylan Basin and Daniel Falkingham. So toss it to you first, Dawson. I mean, what do you think of the racing we had here tonight?
Look, this is a tough track, tough car. A very tough combo to put together. The cars don't drive good. This track is really unique for the super speedway scene. So you kind of expected some errors. You expected some lapses tonight that maybe you wouldn't have at a Talladega or the new Daytona or Atlanta even. So, every time you go somewhere new, I think back to the first few times we ran Atlanta. A couple of those races were complete disasters just because we didn't, at that point, you're trying to race it like a PGR race, but at the same time, it's brand new. You're trying to put the same strategies, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I felt like that's what we got tonight, a little bit of attrition, which kind of ended up being fun and ended up being unique in a way. It's something we don't see a lot. So you had guys in position to win that maybe on a normal night where there's 40 cars and, there's 3x3x3 in the Xfinity car where you can't go anywhere. Maybe there's guys in position to make moves that aren't normally there. I love that. A first-time winner is always great. Congrats to Dylan Basin. He's been working hard at that one for a long time and finally gets the first one off his back. The first one's the hardest to get. I imagine he'll rip off some wins now that he's got that first one. But it ended up being a pretty intriguing race at the end. You get a late caution. You get a late restart. We had green flag pit stops. It had something for everybody. If you like green flag racing and green flag pit stops and strategy, we had that for you. If you like wrecks and chaos, we had that for you too. If you like a good finish, we had that as well. So had a little bit of everything. I think this could be a combo that keeps coming back. We'll see what the decision is there. It's unique, it's different, and provided for an interesting race tonight here at Daytona.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, this had a little bit of everything that you kind of want to see in terms of super speedway race. We had the wrecks, we had the green flag racing, we had the green flag pit stops, and we had the crazy finish to top it off, and a first-time winner. It was really just about everything you wanted to see here tonight at the old 2008 Daytona International Speedway. So we appreciate everyone out there tuning in for tonight's race, and we will see you again. You see me again at least Monday night for the first playoff race for the PGR Light Series, race number 8. So we look forward to doing that. And then, of course, next Thursday night, we'll be back again for the next iteration of the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series. For my co-host tonight, Dawson Wise, I'm Landon Veleke. We appreciate you tuning in. We hope you have a very, very good night.